Hello and welcome to this live workshop where we are going to talk about how to integrate your subject with your background. So I don't know about you, but I meet so many artists, and I remember several years ago, I used to struggle with backgrounds so much, and I'll work with artists, I'll work with students, and they will tell me, I love to paint my subjects, but I have no idea what to do with the background. So this workshop will cure that if you are struggling with backgrounds. And if you don't struggle with backgrounds, watch anyway, because you will pick up some new techniques and new tricks. Well, I want to introduce somebody because this is live and we have a live chat. That means it's interactive. You'll be able to ask questions all along the way, and I will be able to answer them for you. Since I'm going to be painting, talking about techniques and concepts, I can't also look at the chat, so I have help. And who is going to help me is Tanner Polsey. You might have seen him on some other videos that we have. I'm going to have him pop into the camera for a second, just so you can see what he looks like. So when you hear this voice out there, you're not wondering,
who is that? Who does that beautiful voice belong to? It's me. I got a haircut, so I'm feeling confident.
Yeah, looking very handsome.
Thanks. Oh my gosh.
Okay, so that is Tanner. So when you hear, a voice from afar, that's the face that goes with it. Okay, so feel free to, write questions in the chat. You can also just introduce yourself. Tell us where you are watching from. That's always super fun and interesting for us to see. And we will answer your questions as we go. A little just tiny itty bitty small intro about me. My name is Elli Milan, and I have been a professional artist for 30 years, and I've sold over 10,000 paintings. Those are not all 100% mine. My husband and I collaborate. Now we don't really collaborate too much. Well, sometimes we do, but most of these paintings were collaboration paintings. So that's two people's work. So 10,000 paintings between the both of us, over about 30-year career so far. And I'm also the founder of Milan Art Institute. So that is a school my daughter Dimitra and my son-in-law Jake, and also my husband John. It's a family business, and we have taught thousands of students all over the world how to turn their passion for art into a profession. So we mostly focus on creating sellable artwork, elevating artist skills, teaching them how to find their voice, how to build a personal brand, and launch, sell, and promote their artwork, both through traditional avenues, but also through just self-promotion using modern technology, right? And social media and all that. So that is a bit, we have thousands of students worldwide in over 118 countries. And when I heard that, I was just blown away. If somebody told me in 2010, when I started the school, that by 2025, we would have students from 118 countries, I would have been shocked. So I am just so thrilled, and I feel so honored, and it's super exciting because it feels like something big is happening. And I know you probably feel the same way, that there's like an art movement happening. There's a renaissance of sorts. There's something really spectacular happening in the art world, and it's not the elitist art world. It's that, everyday sort of, just regular people art world. More art collectors than ever before, buying art, more artists than ever before, and it's super exciting. I know tons and tons of artists that are extremely successful, that make a full-time living selling their art, and it's just really exciting. And to get there, you have to know how to integrate your subject with your background. So very, very important. Okay. What are these common mistakes and struggles? There's probably more. This is not an exhaustive list, but I have found when I look at artwork where their subject isn't integrated, it doesn't look like it's a part of the background. It looks kind of like this and that, sort of like this cat. It's this lovely painting of a cat, very realistic, really well done. and then it's on a background, but it doesn't feel like it's a part of the piece. The color doesn't really connect. It's just not really a part of the background. It looks like, you know, 1 and 2. Also harsh edges. So when all your edges are the same, they're kind of very graphic and harsh, then it looks like a sticker and like your subject is kind of plastered or just stuck on the background. And then also just a lot of people, you can just see these paintings where they don't know what to do with the background, so they just avoid it. And it's like there is no background, and they just kind of paint it one color, or just kind of leave it white, and it just looks incomplete. The subject is not really able to show off well because it's not integrated with the background and it's not really a part of the canvas. Also, you know, the placement of the subject tends to be awkward. So those are some common mistakes I've seen with artists who struggle with backgrounds. Here are some transformations of some students that after taking some of our classes or taking the mastery program have really learned how to integrate their subject with their background. So you can see these really fun before and afters where some of the backgrounds might just not work or be super busy, or the color doesn't integrate, it looks really separate, and then where it really looks like it's a part of the piece and it's a successful background with the subject. Here is another example of some art transformations where they learned how to integrate their background. This is a really cool before and after. I love how you see the whale kind of before and very surreal, and this artist really kept her voice, but by learning all kinds of different skills and techniques, she was able to really amplify her voice in a really cool way. Here's another example of background and foreground integration. And here's another great example. And then lastly, we have this one. And you can see that green background just does not jive well. If anything, it makes the subject look more ghostly or gaunt, or like something, you know, is wrong with it, besides just the anatomy. And then now you see the subject and the background just, you know, beautifully intertwined. So really cool transformation there. Okay, so what are you going to walk away with today? First, before we get into that, I'm going to kind of tell you how it's going to go down. I'm going to talk for like a couple minutes, and then I'm going to get started on this painting. I probably won't completely 100% complete the painting because I am going to do this with all water-based today for you. So acrylic, some spray paint, and finish it off with oil on another date. But really it's going to be resolved today and basically finished. It'll look finished, but I like to make it look even better and richer with the oil on top. So I'm going to paint this, and while it's drying, I'll go back to talking and teaching about background integration, and then I'll paint some more. So we'll go back and forth between talking and painting all throughout this workshop. So what are you going to walk away with? We are going to learn a simple 3-step method to unify your background. And that will help you resolve your paintings with confidence. You'll know that they're finished, you'll know that it all works together, and you won't be avoiding your background or leaving it for last, or struggling with, what do you do with it. So I'm going to show you very specific things you can do, and they'll work every single time. So you really will never struggle with a background again after this workshop. And I think that's big. I think that's really big. And that's kind of a big promise that I'm making, right? So I'm basically promising you that after this workshop, you will never again struggle with backgrounds, because you can pick any one of the techniques I teach you and I show you, and you can use that to integrate your background with your subject. So eliminate background struggles. I already said that. All right, so what is a three-step simple process? So these are the three things you're going to learn today, and I'll be painting in between each one. So first is a construction strategy. So I'm going to talk to you about how do you want to construct your painting. And I feel like this should work for any style, any method, any technique. This is a basic, I think what most artists, most professional artists I know, how they work. So how to construct your painting. So I'm going to talk about that, then I'm going to demonstrate it. Number two, three techniques. So I'm going to show you three techniques that you can do anytime you want to integrate your subject with your background. And then the last thing is mastering edges and talking about how important edges are. So I'm going to go into specifics and then I'm going to demonstrate it. All right, so what is this construction strategy? So there's three things. You are going to work big to small. So you're not going to start with the smallest thing first. A lot of artists, especially if you're struggling with your background, let's say you're doing a portrait and you draw your portrait out all perfect and beautiful, and then you go right for the eyeball and you just finish the eyeball 1 inch, and then you move to your next inch and your next inch, and you finish 1 square inch at a time, and you're working small to small. You just work on one small thing after the other. The best way to construct your painting is working big, the whole thing, working your piece as a whole, and saving details for last. So I will demonstrate that. Also working back to front. So you want to start with your background. That is sometimes counterintuitive to people because you don't really know what you're going to do with your background, so you just go for your subject and you start painting your subject and you don't even think about your background, and then once your subject is done you're like, oh, I don't know what to do with my background. So you want to start with your background, begin with what is furthest away, and then you work towards the front. Also blurry to tight. A lot of people, so this kind of plays into edges, they make all their edges tight, they outline everything because they want to see it and they don't want to lose their form, they don't want to lose their subject, so they outline everything, all their edges are tight, and then later you have to loosen things up and then it looks like you overpainted. So you want to work blurry to tight. Working blurry to tight will help you integrate your subject with your background because your edges will kind of lose themselves into the background. So I will show you examples of that and I will demonstrate it. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to start with a oh, I forgot to kind of squirt out some paint here, but that's all right. So I'm going to start with a wash, and I will use this transparent red oxide, and I'm going to put that over the whole thing. Now, you don't have to stain your canvas. I always feel like a very important step in painting, no matter what it is you're painting. I'm going to paint an abstract figure. So this is just going to be an abstract that's figurative. Here is my figure somewhere around there. But you always want to begin by kind of killing the white of the canvas or the white of the paper. So by getting rid of the white, the white of the canvas isn't working against you. So most professional artists work with some kind of underpainting. So I like to just stain it all one color. You wouldn't have to. You could stain this with lots of different colors, but in this case, I'm going to stain it with one color. It helps to kind of unify everything into one. One unified sort of thing, especially because I added all this collage. So it has texture on here, it has collage. If you want to know how I made the collage or how I put the collage on there, I basically used gloss gel to glue it down and then modeling paste for the texture. So I'm just kind of using this transparent paint here and I'm going over the whole thing, and you can also, wet it with water to kind of make a wash. So just spraying canvas a little bit to get it wet.
Someone's asking if this technique is also possible for watercolor.
Well, watercolor is very different because you're trying to, the subject and background integration, I think, is the same. For watercolor, what you would do, because you want to preserve the white of your canvas a lot and you want to work light to dark. So I think for watercolor, you would begin with what they call washes. So that would be a good way to start. That would be similar to what I'm doing right here, is beginning with a wash. But you wouldn't want to necessarily cover, it would depend. It would depend on what you were painting. But I think with watercolor, you would want to work back to front. You want to work from blurry to tight. You want to work from big to small. You save your details for last. So absolutely, this translates into watercolor. The only difference is you wouldn't cover your entire paper, with some sort of, color, because then, it doesn't work for watercolor. But paper towels. I forgot my paper towels.
Oh no. Here you go.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, are there any other questions while I squirt out some paint?
Someone's wondering about the collage you had already put down there. If you could talk about like how you did that and if there was a thought process to what you placed where.
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of a thought process, and I think, this can be different for each person depending on how you do collage. For me, what I like to look at is I like to use my edges. So I put something on the edge. I like to have a scale differential where some of the pieces are small, some of them are big, trying to overlap a few things. So those are the kinds of things I think about when I am putting collage. But, and like I said, I used gloss gel, and I used to glue it down, and then I used modeling paste to hide the edges. So if you look at this piece, there's modeling paste over it. Once there's paint on here, you won't even see these edges. It'll all look like it's emerging. So I like to put the modeling paste over the edges of the paper because it hides the edge, and then once there's paint on it, you hardly know that there was collage down. So some people want their collage to show, but all right.
Also, thank you to everyone who complimented my haircut. That is boosting my ego quite a lot. Some people are wondering if you could do this with oil paint as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm kind of doing a mixed media thing today. So it's just a little, like with oil, if you do kind of a wash over it, what I like to do with oil is, and we teach this is like the first thing you learn in the mastery program. I like to do a wash basically like this over the whole thing, over the whole painting, and then subtract out my subject, and subtract out all the lighter values. So, okay. So now I have a little color down, and I'm just gonna apply some of this, kind of demonstrating working from big to small. So I'm using the collage paper underneath, and I'm kind of connecting them a little bit by just adding, so I do have a subject, and then I have all the background, right? But with art, you always want to have a background, a foreground, a midground, and a foreground. And I think every painting should have at least 5 or 6 levels of depth. The more depth you can put in your painting, the better it's going to look, the more sellable it will be. So I don't want to just have a background that's far, far away and then a subject that's plastered on top of it. That's what we're trying to avoid. That's not really integrating your subject with the background. So this subject here has to kind of begin to morph into the background some, and I like to connect it to the sides. So this is just working in layers and working, you know, thinking kind of big and, you know, the piece overall as a piece versus, you know, kind of thinking about like what is she wearing and what does her face look like and is there a tree back there. I'm not thinking about details at all. I'm just trying to get the whole piece to work together.
Someone's asking if you normally finish the sides while you paint.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. I usually forget. And it takes time. So in this particular workshop, I'm not going to do it because I don't want to be, you know, taking the time to do that. But yes, that is definitely a good idea to do it as you go. Then you don't have to remix the colors later.
So do as she says, not as she does in that regard.
Yeah. Tanner, do you think you could grab me a black or or just that whole tub over there?
Oh.
He's not only answering questions, but he's getting me paint.
A lot of manual labor in this job.
All right. So I'm trying to just kind of figure out what is my background, what is my midground, what is my foreground, and it's kind of important at this stage. That's what I mean by working big to small. And of course I'm using a big brush, right? Because if I was working with small brushes at this stage, then it would be, you know, I wouldn't be working big to small. So I'm taking this dark here that maybe is her dress or maybe it's not, and I'm connecting it to the edge. I think you want to kind of connect things to the edge a bit. And
someone's wondering how big this canvas is.
it's a 24 square, so not too big.
Someone asked if we had classes in person in Canada. Not at the moment. Most of our courses and classes are online, but we do art retreats that are in person, and every now and then we'll have an in-person workshop and whatnot. So be always on the lookout for those. As for Canada specifically, maybe one day, I don't know. I'd like to go to Canada someday.
We do have in-person classes here in Sarasota, Florida, and we have art retreats in lots of different places. We're about to have one in Rhodes, Greece, so that's another way to learn from us in person. Don't worry, his painting won't be ugly for long.
So I was wondering, what is the subject going to be? I can't remember if you said it.
It's like an abstract figure, and I may or may not do something that kind of looks like an angel. I don't know. We'll see. There's a little kind of a wing thing here, but I haven't decided yet. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so now my next move is, so I just sort of began to kind of eke out a background, a midground, right? And then a foreground here. So now I want to kind of create an atmospheric sort of very distant background. And so again, staying big, using a big brush. And if you want something to go back in your background, you want it to go far, far away, you need to use colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. So you wouldn't use complements unless you're trying to mix, you know, complements to make a brown or something. You don't want anything jarring. You want your transitions to be very soft and blended. You want the values to be similar. So I'm gonna mix a little bit of white and kind of make a creamy white here. And I'm just scumbling. So by scumbling, I can make this kind of misty effect back here. And now that I'm coming up to, this is kind of an important piece, now that I'm coming up to my subject, I have this like blob head, and I need to kind of begin to feel my way towards a little bit of form. So I'm still using a big brush. What a lot of people want to do is get a little brush and start, you know, outlining something and drawing it. And I don't know, I feel like that begins to separate your subject from the background. And I don't know I know this is going to be the face, but I don't know exactly, you know, what's going to happen here. So I'm just kind of just feeling my way to see if I can kind of find a face. And there will be a time where I can begin to, and remember, I want to keep all my edges blurry. We talked about blurry to tight. So as you can see, all my edges are very blurry. And I think that that is something at this stage that's, you know, pretty important.
So I was wondering if you used the collage to influence your color story.
I kind of did. Yeah, I chose colors that I thought would work together, and really the colors I chose for spray paint that I'm going to use in the next step is really what's kind of influencing the color, which was influenced by the collage paper. So the great thing about fuzzy, blurry edges, especially if you're not using a source like me and you're kind of making it up, is anything can happen. You're not married to something. You didn't make this tight outline and this tight edge and get super committed to it. Everything is very blurry, and you can alternate or change it. So.
Mass, do you think scumbling on paper and on canvas did give different effects?
Slightly different, but I find it's pretty similar. So I'm not sure if I'm keeping that wing or not. I'm sort of not sure. So it's just sort of there.
And we have a free workbook that can help you with this. I will put a link to it in the chat right now. It's also in the description of the video if you're watching the recording. But definitely check it out because that will be super helpful for you as well.
And then I'm going to add some lighter values in the bottom. So usually things that have more color in them and there's more contrast. So this is contrasting with that, this is contrasting with that. They're gonna pop forward. They're gonna become more of a midground. If I get them really graphic or really a lot of contrast in them, whether that's color saturation or that's a value, they're gonna really pop forward. So keep that in mind as you think about what colors you want to add. But because all of this sort of blends a bit into each other, and it'll blend more, I'm going to add some spray paint, I'm going to do some other things in the next step that'll make it sink back even more and other things come forward even more. That's really a part of the thought process, is to differentiate your midground from your background, because it's got a little more contrast, there's a little bit more, you know, color saturation to it, and hopefully you can see that. Oh, that head just really drives me nuts. I gotta do something. But I'm gonna resist. I'm gonna resist the temptation. That's something that trips us up. Your subject just looks ugly, right? As you're building your background, because I'm trying to keep things fuzzy and I haven't really worked on this. And right now it looks like this like terrible lollipop, but it's not gonna look like that at the end. So, you know, you have this temptation because nobody wants to live with an ugly painting as you're going through your painting. It's just, it feels bad to you, right? It feels bad to me. So, and it starts to eat at your self-doubt, and you start to feel like, I don't know if I'm gonna pull this one off. I mean, look how ugly that lollipop head is. What am I gonna do? And so you wanna stop everything and get your tiny brushes out and start to fix it and turn it into a lady or a face or whatever. And I have that same urge because, especially, I'm doing this live for you guys. I mean, the last thing I want is an ugly painting of this, you know, ugly lady, you know, that's dark and you know, on live YouTube. So I want to like prove to you that I know what I'm doing and get in there and fix it. But I'm going to resist it because that is really going to work against me later. And if I really want my subject integrated with the background, I need to solve the background. I need to solve the midground. And that's one of the reasons why I chose an abstract, because if I just did a landscape, it'd be really easy. Smaller trees in the background, medium trees in the midground, big trees in the foreground, right? It's kind of a no-brainer. But on an abstract, all you have are the elements of art. You have value, you have color, you have line, you have texture, you have those types of things to work with in order to create that depth, in order to create your different levels in the background. So even though with all my heart I want to fix that, I'm resisting, and it's gonna you know, just stay like that. So for anybody who comes late to this, you're gonna pop in and see this ugly thing here and wonder, what is this workshop about? Does that girl even know how to paint? So that's okay though. It will all get sorted, you just watch.
A lot of people are relating to that, to the ugly stage dilemma.
The ugly stage is real.
Someone's wondering if this technique would work the same if you used a reference photo.
A reference photo. Yeah, totally. That's how I usually work. Mm-hmm. In fact, tomorrow at 10 EST, I'm going to be painting live again, but it'll be a completely different style. So it'll be more realism, and I'm going to be painting this source right here. And that'll be on my channel. So this is the school's channel, Milan Art Institute. And tomorrow at 10 a.m. I'm going to be painting that. So if you want to see me paint again, something completely different and a completely different style, then check that out.
I'll put a link in the chat to it.
Oh, you are awesome, Tanner.
I know. So notice, yes, Ellie is using her favorite chips brush right now.
Yep. Okay. No, I'm not going to do that. Okay, I think for now This sort of satisfies that first thing we were talking about of working back to front, big to small, and loose to tight, or another way of saying it is kind of blurry, fuzzy to tight, crisp edged. So all my edges are super fuzzy and everything just kind of looks blurry. And I've done the first thing I set out to do, which is determine what is my subject, what is my faraway background, and what is my midground. And then of course the subject is the foreground. So that is all figured out. And now let's learn some more, and then I will demonstrate that next. So there's 3 techniques to integrate this subject with the background. Right now, it's pretty integrated, but it's ugly. It's not resolved, right? So we do have to render that form. We have to get this figure to actually look like a figure. And we need to pull her towards us, and we need to keep get the background further away, and so in that tightening up, she could begin to separate too much from the background. So how do we make sure that she is integrated? So one way is chiaroscuro. So what that means is light against dark, dark against light. In a very crude way, we have the dark of her against the light of the background. So that technically is chiaroscuro. But I'm going to show you some pictures of other art that really does it in a pretty slick way to explain it. The second trick is, so these are things you can apply to your own artwork. Doesn't matter if you're doing watercolor, doesn't matter if you're doing oils, doesn't matter if you're painting super realistic, if you're painting very abstract or something in between. So this works for any and all art, is a chiaroscuro effect. So also, number 2, anybody can use this. You can divide your canvas into 3 unequal parts, one of those parts containing your subject. So what I kind of have already done is, this could be sort of one section, this here can be another, and then this is another. So that's 3 unequal parts. I'll show you some pictures that will really help you see what I'm talking about. And then the third, which I haven't done yet, but I'm going to do, is bring the inside stuff out, and then what is outside inside. So you can bring color from the outside and integrate it with your subject, so it's not like that cat with 2 different color stories happening, or it could be pattern. So I'm going to use spray paint and pattern to kind of show you that. So integrating by bringing something from the background into the subject, and something from the subject into the background. That will automatically integrate. So those are 3 tricks. You can use all 3 in one painting, or you can just pick one. You could do 2 of the 3, and it will always work every single time. So chiaroscuro. So this is something that the old masters came up with, and it really came about in Baroque painting. So that's like Rembrandt, Caravaggio, Artemisia Gentileschi, those types of artists, and they were always bringing something that was really lit. So you've heard of Rembrandt lighting, something that is lit up forward out of darkness, and they used chiaroscuro to make that happen. So wherever the background is dark, you're going to have light. Can you see my mouse? My little... Okay. So so here we have darkness in the background, and then these leaves are light against it. These peaches and apples really pop because they're against a dark background. All of this really pops because it's against a dark background. Now, where we have light in the background, like in here or down in here, what do we see? We see dark leaves with their shadows against the light. So dark against light, dark against light, dark against light. So wherever you have light in the background, you put the shadow side of your subject. So if I had a light source that was coming this way and she was lit up here, then I would put dark in the background. And if this was her dark side, I would put light in the background. So that's one way to handle chiaroscuro. This is Caravaggio here, and as you can see, he has what is light against the dark, and then what is dark, like let's see, where do we have dark? Like the things on the table are against light. We have a lot of light things against the dark. Even just like his green here is dark, and then he has this red coming up that's light. So putting what is dark against what is light. And even the shadow behind this figure is he put this sort of ray of light coming through so that the dark side could be up against that. Here we have his dark side up against the light in the back, but then where he is light, it looks like the background is darker. So it's a really cool technique. So this comes in handy if, let's say, you're doing a portrait and you just want a simple background. So rather than painting the entire background one solid color, you could have the lit part of the face dark against it, and then back here where the hair is and maybe where it's dark, you could have a light against it and basically blend the two in the back, and your subject will be completely integrated with the background. So that is just an easy technique you can do anytime, especially if you're working with just a very minimal, simple background, because that's what he did. He has all these figures and then this very minimal, simple background. Okay, so 3 unequal parts. So if you look at these compositions, so this is a very similar figurative abstract, kind of the direction this is going in, where you have the painting divided in 3 unequal parts, and they're divided not necessarily by lines. These white lines aren't actually in the composition, right, or in the painting. These white lines just kind of show you how the painting is divided up. So that helps integrate the subject in the background by dividing it into 3 unequal parts. Here's another good example of another artist, and usually color or value is what's going to do it. So right here, this is all the lighter values, and then the color here sort of divided it. So and here you can see how it's done without it being divided up. Okay, and then the third trick is where you take something from the outside, so the color that's outside, bring it in, or maybe a pattern or a design, or it could be a brush stroke. And this is where edges are going to play in, because your edges will basically blur and fade. So if we look at this figure in the background that it's in, there's some lines that are kind of outlining it and telling us where the figure is. You see a hint of the face here, but a lot of the color that's out here is also inside the figure, right? The clothing here on the leg, the arm. So it sort of comes and goes. You see this sort of ghosty effect where what is outside comes in. Now, the only way you can really do that is really this technique, by creating your background first and allowing it to sort of come into your figure. If you outline everything perfectly and keep all your things separate from each other, and your mind is even compartmentalizing, and you're thinking, okay, now I'm painting the face, and now I'm just working on the face. Okay, now I'm painting the background. Instead of working your whole painting all together, it would be difficult for you to integrate the color or the pattern or lines or something from the background into your piece. But if you do your background first and allow some of your background to sort of shine through or sneak through your subject, then it's easy to do. So these are some other examples of that, and where the figure kind of comes and goes, the color is brought in, from the background into the figure, and vice versa. Okay, so now I'm going to kind of move on to the next step of this, and I'm going to squirt out some more paint. And Tanner, are there any questions while I squirt out some more paint?
Yeah. One person was thinking about chiaroscuro, any tips for bringing balance to the painting if it feels too dark? Is it generally easy to paint over really dark values?
Yes, I always work dark to light because you can always paint over your dark values and brighten and lighten them up. So my paintings usually look really dark and dreary until the end, and I usually do highlights last. So that is a great point to make.
Yeah, it's usually easier to make a dark painting light than a light painting dark, I think.
Yeah.
Someone was wondering, should an artist stick to one style?
You know, it just depends on your goals. If your goals are to sell your artwork in the more kind of fine art market to collectors and people that really want to know your story, want to know what your artwork's about, it has a voice to it, then yeah, creating a style is really important, and you know, putting voice to your art. That's what collectors want. They want to buy art that has a story. They want to feel inspired by something, and really having a cohesive body of work is really key. If you are doing art for the decorative market, the decor market, and you are, and that's kind of your goal, then I think you can paint in lots of different styles, but you can't like, it works best if you know, do 10, 20 paintings in one style, then 10, 20 paintings in another style, 10, 20 paintings in another style, rather than jumping all over the place and having a hodgepodge of work. Think of it in terms of like a line, like how there's a fashion line, and a designer will have they'll come up with a title of like, you know, their spring, you know, what's a name? I don't know. I can't think. It can be creative right now.
Spring flowers.
Their spring puppy line, and so, you know, it's all this red clothing or something, and it has poppy fabric, and so it all looks cohesive, you know, as you see it go down the runway, and then they'll have their, you know, winter, I don't know, gown series or something, and so it all is these gowns, and you know, the fabrics are similar. So that's kind of how you have to think of it for the decor market, and that's so working in series. And then there's, you know, the hobby artists that they're not really, you know, trying to sell their art. They just want to have fun and do whatever they want. Then yeah, you can change your style, you can paint however you like. I think you're going to get better and your skills are going to elevate if you kind of concentrate on sort of one genre of something and maybe one technique and kind of perfect it and get good at it, rather than jumping from, you know, one thing to the next. Okay, it is spray paint time. So what I like to do with spray paint is just start playing around with stuff, and you know, if I'm doing something there, maybe I want to do it here also. So now I've brought a pattern into a dress that's in the background. Am I going to keep it? I don't know. I'm not sure. We'll see. But at least I have options. At least I have, you know, something. And you kind of want to be thinking about color too. Ooh, I don't really have any blue in here. Do I want blue? I grabbed blue, but yeah, there's a little bit of blue there. Maybe I want a little bit of blue.
This is how decisions are made.
Okay, that one's dead. I grabbed a bunch of lids. What did I do with them? Oh, they're right here.
Oh yeah, and this is water-based, acrylic-based spray paint she's using. It's not, you know, the stuff you spray on buildings, so.
Yeah. And there's a little blue over here, so we'll just do a pop of blue. Nothing, you know, crazy.
Someone's wondering if you ever do like all three of the techniques you just went over in the same painting.
Yeah, totally.
Someone's wondering where you get your stencils from.
Well, kind of all over, but a lot of them just come from Amazon. I know that doesn't sound exotic or, you know, artsy, but...
Straight from France.
So you can use spray paint also to like kind of make things blendy, smoothie. Oh, do I want a wing or not? Well, I can always paint it out. So let's put one. And
ooh.
what's that? You can't see, I'm blocking, sorry. That's me pretending those are feathers. Okay, so this is kind of an example of bringing sort of what is outside in and what is in out, so that they kind of go back to being very integrated. So I guess that's kind of the key. As you move through your painting, you are sort of separating your subject from your background, and then you are sort of bringing them back together, and then you're separating them, bringing them back together. So now she's sort of getting a little bit lost in there, and the next step, as we talk about edges, as we talk about the details, as I add the details to this, as I begin to render this or move from big to small and move down to smaller brushes and, you know, aim to actually carve out her form and really differentiate. We still have a background, a midground, and a foreground, but as I begin to add those details and really, you know, move into getting this painting solved and the figure more rendered, what in the heck was I saying? As I do all that, then it's going to begin to separate more. That's what I was going to say. So, but because all my edges are blurry, the ones that I choose to tighten are going to pop forward. So this spray paint needs to dry a little bit. So as that's drying, probably just a couple minutes, I'm going to talk about edges here, and then we will finish this, or at least finish it, you know, in the acrylic stage. Okay, so mastering edges. When you really, I don't care what kind of art you are making, you always want, you're going to create your very best art if you master edges. Edges are one of the most important things that's going to make your artwork go from looking, you know, like a beginner did it to somebody who's really advanced. So having intentionality about your edges. You want to be able to create depth by using your edges. And the reason we're talking about depth is because we're talking about how to integrate your subject with your background. Your background is behind your subject, right? It's far away. And then there's things that are kind of in the midground that are closer to your subject, but still behind it. And depending on how crisp your edge is or how much contrast there is with your edge is going to determine how far away these things are. So as I work on, finishing, this popped forward because we have a clean, sort of crisp edge. But I could paint over that and kind of scumble it and knock it back if I want to obscure the edge more, and it'll sit back. So there's a lot of things you can do with depth with edges. And I find that a lot of artists don't even think about edges. They make all their edges the same, and then they wonder why their painting looks flat, or they wonder why their subject isn't integrated with their background. So you really want to think about edges. I'm going to show you some examples. Another way you can handle edges is, so one is a differential, blurry edges far away, crisp edges up close. Another way is allowing some of your edges to sort of dissipate into the background, where you almost don't know where the edge of your figure or form is, especially if you have like one shoulder back and one shoulder forward. This is going to be well defined, and this shoulder might just dissipate into the background. Or sometimes on a portrait, it's hair. You don't know where the edge of the hair is. You don't know if the hair, if that spot is hair or maybe it's background. So I'm going to show you some examples of that. And then allow edges to completely disappear. So I'll show you examples of that. So here we have soft edges, and so an edge differential. So if you look at the bird on the left, some of these edges are close to us. Like this wing really pops forward here because number one, we have contrast of the chiaroscuro, of the dark against the light, and then we have a nice crisp edge. But where it's fluttering and it's moving away from us, it begins to dissipate and get very soft. So a lot of these edges are very soft and blurry. There's not as much contrast in the value, and you can see that all around this hummingbird. So this looks like a much more sophisticated painting than say this one, where all the edges are basically the same, and it doesn't look like the artist was very intentional with them, and it lacks that depth. It doesn't have that dimensionality because of the edges. Okay, so here we have completely disappearing edges. So you don't even know where the edge of that wing is. It just completely disappears into the background. Whereas other edges, you can differentiate, you can understand, you can see where the form is, that the head is right there. Here is another example where the bear is outlined in white with a nice crisp edge, but then it sort of disappears here, and the edge just disappears, and you almost don't know where the edge of the bear is. And obviously the background is in the foreground, or what's outside of the bear is inside the bear, what's inside the bear is outside the bear. So it's very integrated with the background. Here is a watercolor. So some of you watercolor artists, you were wondering about this. This watercolor of the dog, the background is very nicely integrated. Some of the edges completely disappear. Other edges are very strong and come forward. And here we have sort of a this and that, where all the edges are basically the same, and we don't really have that effect. So, and so as you can see, it doesn't look as sophisticated, it doesn't look as skilled, and if this artist just blurred some of the edges that are far away from us, and really crisped up some of the edges that are close to us, even this collar, if this was crisp and this was blurry and low contrast, it would have a lot more volume to it, and then if this sort of disappeared into the background, and if the background color, well, there's a lot of things this painting needs, but the background and the subject are not integrated, and mostly because the dog is brown and the background's pink, and that doesn't really work. If she brought, or he brought, pink into the nose and the nose area, and there was some magenta in there, even the collar, if the collar was pink, then I could see it working. Maybe some more gold into the background, then it would be a little more integrated. So art that looks kind of effortless, and like these two paintings, is usually more sellable. That effortless look is really in the edges. When it looks like you almost just forgot to paint the edge, but then this one's really crisp, it just feels effortless. That's how you get loose artwork. So this kind of effect right here, where whatever she did in the background is just sort of left alone, and then she picks and chooses where she's going to render, and it begins to feel effortless. So that is a good example of that. Okay, so now I got to start making this look good. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is get a bit of a smaller brush, and so I'm using this medium brush. So up till now I've used only my big brush, and so now I'm going to start moving down into smaller brushes and work on some background things, and really kind of finding the form here and popping some things forward. And definitely I want to pop some of this forward, pushing some other things back, and getting this more rendered. If there's any questions, we can...
Someone was wondering how you got that skinny line with the spray paint.
I just went really, really close to the canvas, just very close. So another great thing for backgrounds is a roller. So if you want to, so the further away your spray paint is from the canvas, the more space it has to kind of dissipate the pigment, but close up as it comes out of the cap, it's going to be in a skinnier stream. So so on this roller, it's just kind of a really, easy way to begin to make things in the background kind of pull in the distance more. Sometimes I use rollers more in the beginning, and you can kind of roll over some things, and if I want this to kind of move back, I could just roll right over it. So sometimes I like rollers for abstracts.
Someone's wondering if it's possible to fix an oil painting that currently has a solid background implementing these steps.
Yeah. What I would do is you got to kind of mess it up a little bit. So what I would do is, on oil paintings, I would get like Galkit. I've done this myself when I went tight too soon and all my edges are tight. Everything looks like, I don't know, cartoony, and I hate the painting. And to get that sort of mess in the background that you can pull your image from, what I've done is, and then it turned out to be one of my favorite paintings afterwards, is I got Galkit. So Galkit is basically a glazing medium. So you can't use a lean medium and you can't use too fat of a medium. You need something that's kind of drippy. So Galkit is pretty perfect. And then get transparent paint and just drip all over it and splatter and just kind of like mess it all up. And even if the drips and splatters go into your subject, it's okay. And then you can work from there and start applying these principles. But you kind of have to get it a little bit, messed up. Okay, maybe that's enough of the roller.
It's very easy to roll over everything.
Yeah.
Someone's wondering if you would ever add more collage this far in the process.
You could. Yeah, you totally could. So I think I'm gonna do a little chiaroscuro. So here's the dark side, okay? And now I'm going to darken by glazing. I can always change this color if it's not working, but I'm gonna kind of glaze this a little bit, and I'm gonna pull her out with highlights, if that makes sense. So I think I'm gonna go a little bit more neutral. So I'm gonna get a brown into that purple. There we go. So I'm gonna make this darker here. And
If someone has painted a canvas in oils and wanted to collage over it, can you? Will the gloss gel stay stuck on your papers? You should not use gloss gel over oil paint.
no,
Yeah.
you can't mix water-based over oil-based.
Yeah, I tried it once just to see what would happen, and lo and behold, it peeled away. I don't know if you could collage over oil with, I don't know. I can't think of a material that you could do that with.
Okay, this lady just wants to face forward, I feel like, instead of a side view. So it is what it is. It wasn't really what I had planned, but that's okay.
Someone was asking earlier if you know from the beginning what you want to paint, or does it develop with each artwork during the process?
It develops as it depends. If I have a source, then I know ahead of time, and if not, then
We just see what happens.
yeah. So, like, I'm just kind of trying to find, you know, shoulders. Keep the edges, you know, a bit blurry at first.
Oh, apparently people use cold wax to collage with oils.
Oh yeah, you could do that, couldn't you? Because that's almost like an encaustic kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. I want to try that.
Good one. Okay, she's not an angel. This is her gown, and it's like her cape. It's her cape.
I like it. Someone was wondering if you were thinking of going to oils today or at any point with this piece.
Yeah, after this, I was gonna go. Not today. This workshop's not long enough, but yeah, it needs oils for sure. But, you know, I'm trying to just demonstrate like the principles, and, you know, this is kind of a case of chiaroscuro in here, and trying to show you like on an old master's painting, you know, the chiaroscuro makes perfect sense. But, you know, how does that work on something contemporary or abstract? So that's what I'm kind of showing here.
Someone said she's been to the Met Gala.
Yeah, it might be influencing me.
Someone's wondering, how long do oils need to be left before varnishing?
Well, they need to be bone dry. So depending on your mediums, for me, it can take anywhere from a week to a month. On the can, I think it says like,
I think like 6 months.
Yeah.
To like, I think some of them even say like a year.
yeah, but I think they're just trying to cover their bases, so.
Oh, Eileen's wondering, why does it need oils? What do oils bring to an acrylic painting?
Well, wow, that is just my favorite topic. So oils bring a lot. This is something that is like our trademark almost for our school, is this color temperature teaching. So we teach this in the mastery program, and I keep talking about the mastery program, but it's our 1-year program that teaches you everything you need to know on how to become a professional artist. So not just the marketing and the business side of it, but even the skills. So you learn to draw, you learn to paint with oil, you learn mixed media techniques, you learn how to find your voice and develop your style. So it's a fantastic, amazing 1-year program, jam-packed. And a big piece of that is oil painting, because to answer your question, because a lot of people are just acrylic artists and they don't really have an interest in oil, and they're like, I like acrylic, but acrylic doesn't move on the canvas. So for example, this is a warm acrylic, and this is, let's say, a cool red or a cool red. And depending on how bright or saturated it is, or light in value, it'll pop forward or recede, but only just like a little bit, based on edges and color saturation. But with oil, the paint is alive, and so all of your cool colors, even if it's a cool yellow or a cool red, or a warm blue, right? So it doesn't mean that yellow, orange, and red are all the warm colors, and blue, green, and violet are all the cool colors. You can have warm blues, and you can have cool reds. So all your cool colors recede and all your warm colors pop forward. So you can choose, if you want something to pop forward, like in oil, what I would do to this is I would come in with, some very warm red tones and absolutely pop this forward. And then right next to it, I would put a cool red. So I would put a cool red here and a warm red there. And all of a sudden she'll do this, boom, like that. So it's just a super amazing thing. If I want this to make it look like it's lifting off the canvas, I could come over that and glaze this with a warm blue black. And then I could take this light yellow and cool it off and make it a very cool yellow, and it will recede, and this, like a ribbon, as if it's three-dimensional, will look like it's popping off the canvas. And normally dark things will not pull forward, dark things recede. So so oil paint gives you a whole nother set of tools to work with to create depth. And the colors are very vibrant, very juicy. They're just intense, and gorgeous. There's just nothing replaces oils, in my opinion. And so that's why we teach it in the mastery program. That's why I finish every painting I do with oil, because I want the paint to look like it's alive and just jumping off the walls of the gallery. So yeah, I think every artist should learn how to use oil, even if you only use it for glazing or a little bit at the end of your painting, and you mostly paint it in acrylic. Because I can get this painting most of the way with the acrylic paint, and then just come in at the end with, you know, maybe an hour worth of you know, oil work, and it'll look, you know, absolutely stunning. So yeah, are there any more?
Yeah, some people are wondering about water-based oils, if you use them, your thoughts on them.
Yeah, water-based oils, they're good. You know, I have used them. I prefer regular oils. You have more colors to choose from. I feel like the pigment load is higher. They're higher quality. You just have a little bit more freedom with them. But you know, water-based oils are just fine, especially if you get a good quality brand. There's a lot of people that take the mastery program that that use water-based oils, but we also teach in the mastery program how to use oils in a non-toxic way. So a lot of people think that oils are super toxic and acrylics are all safe, and actually, if you use the right materials, acrylics are even more toxic than oils. I know, hard to believe, but it's true. And so it's all about the solvent and the mediums, because the paint itself is not toxic. I mean, you don't want to eat it or, you know, spread it all over your skin. If you want to be really safe, you would use gloves and, you know, but inhaling it, it's not dangerous at all. What is toxic is the solvent. So we tell artists to use Soy Thin or Eco House, or there's lots of brands out there that you can get non-toxic materials to oil paint with, and so then you don't even need the water-based oil. So that's really what we recommend. And you know, we're talking about how to get your subject to integrate with your background. And I think what's behind that, and maybe why you're even watching this, or why you were attracted to that subject matter to begin with, is because you want to get to that place of complete freedom while you're painting, where you're not worried about things. You're not riddled with that self-doubt of, I don't know how to finish this. I don't know how to make this work. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm lost now. And really to get to that place where you can make all your decisions confidently, and you can really, you know, just paint with that level of freedom where you're not spending the whole time in your studio making decisions. It's just in you and you just do it. And that is the biggest transformation that I've seen in our mastery students. They take the mastery program, and after a certain point, they've built so much skill and they've painted so much, and they've you know, stretched themselves beyond their comfort zone, and they've acquired all these new skills. It gets to a point where they're just painting in complete bliss and freedom. And all of the negatives that go with painting and creating art are gone, and all that you're left with are the positives. And then on top of that, you found your voice, and you found your style, and how you want to paint, and how you know, your unique thumbprint is right there on your canvas, and you know that the only person that could ever have painted that painting is you, and that's your unique style. So we have a whole section where we walk you through all these prompts and a method, a proven method that we've used thousands of times to help artists find their voice and develop their style, and to find a process of working And you know, your process for working and creating a series or a body of work really begins at inspiration. It begins in how you get your inspiration. How do you take your inspiration and formulate it into sources and ideas to paint from, and you know, whether that's photographs that you're painting from, or you create sources through different apps on your computer, or through sketches or idea boards or mood boards, or however you work. We teach you a method that works for your temperament, for your experiences, and how you like to work. And then it's all about what materials do you want to work from. Do you want to use water-based materials? Do you like fluidy, sort of inky watercolor type things? Do you like spray paint? I mean, I love spray paint. If I get a can of spray paint in my hand, I love doing this, like, you know, stuff, you know, on my canvas, making a mark. That gives me energy. That makes me feel good. For some people, that doesn't feel good at all. It's like, oh, I don't want to do that. I want to sit with a small brush and just, you know, make something look realistic. Everybody is different, and it's important to figure out what your process is, what kind of materials do you want to work with, and then of course what kind of themes do you want to paint in, what subjects do you want to paint, and learn how to create cohesiveness within your body of work. And then by the end of the program, we get to portfolio. So you spend about 4 months of the program developing and building your portfolio after you found your style and you know the themes that you want to paint in. And of course, you have tons of skill, and you're already in that freedom point where you know how to paint and you're not thinking about things. And then it's about developing that body of work that you're super proud of, that's the best work you've ever made, and you are going to open it up to the art world and show it to people. And at this point, that might sound terrifying, but when you get there and you put so much work into it and you're so proud of what you've done and you know it's amazing, you can't wait to show the world. And we teach you how to do that. How do you show your artwork to the world? We show you how to build a personal brand, how to really hone your story and be able to express it to people, whether that's in written form or through different types of imagery and marketing collateral, or speaking. And we teach you also how to contact galleries, how to contact publishers, designers, art consultants. Where do you find them? How do you look for them, and where are they? We teach you how to develop your own marketing strategy that works for you and your goals, because everybody's different. We already talked about the decor market versus the collectible market, and you know, where you land is going to be different, and so you need a unique marketing strategy that's going to work for you, because the art world is really big and diverse. There's a lot of ways to sell your artwork. There's so many ways, and so it's important to kind of figure out you know, your lifestyle, how much time do you want to put into your business, what parts of the world do you want to reach, what kind of people do you want to reach, what is your message, and who is your audience, and all those questions. So we go through all of that in the mastery program, and people tell us time and time again that it is absolutely life-changing. So this is a really cool kind of story of one of our graduates, and you can see in just 4 weeks. So the program begins with academic drawing, so learning how to draw, and oil painting. So that's how you start, with drawing and oil painting. And as you can see here, her before painting, that's how she painted before she came into the program. So, you know, the proportions aren't there, the skin tones, the hair, there's just a lot where it doesn't look representational. And then you can see after just 4 weeks, that is only 1 month. Look at all that she learned and how her art absolutely transformed. And then she, you know, built out her portfolio. She went bonkers on TikTok and got all kinds of followers. And at one point she was selling like hundreds of prints in a day. It was crazy. I saw all these reels where she had just tubes and tubes of prints rolled up in tubes, filling her studio, and she had to get them to the post office. So so this is Anna Bostrom. You can go and look her up on Instagram and follow her, or TikTok. And and you know, this is where she started. So she didn't start out already an accomplished artist. She started out just with a passion. With a passion to paint and to create. And I don't even know when she started the program if she actually believed, you know, that she could be a professional artist. I think she started the program just like, I don't know about the business side, but I'm just going to start because I want to elevate my skills and I really want to learn oil and I want to learn how to draw. But then along the way, she got belief, she got confidence, and you know, she could see it. She could see, wow, I could do this. I could be a professional artist. So this is Tanya. She lives in Canada. You can look her up on Instagram, and you know, she's a fabulous, amazing person and an incredible artist. We actually have her artwork in our gallery here in Sarasota, Florida. So if you ever want to see Tanya's artwork in person, she's also in galleries in Canada. So if you live in Canada in the Montreal area, you can look her up and you can find where her artwork is. But this is her before picture of what, you know, how she was drawing and how she was painting before the program. And she worked as a cashier in a supermarket, and she started the program. And when she started the program, all her friends told her she was getting scammed and that it wasn't possible, and that her dream of becoming a professional artist was a pipe dream and she shouldn't do it, and that school is just taking her money. And but she signed up anyway because she just had this gut feeling that it was for her. So she signed up and went through the program, and before she even graduated, she had just started her portfolio and she was already selling her artwork all throughout the program. She was able to quit her job at the supermarket because she was selling enough artwork while she was still in the program to be able to quit her job. And now, of course, she is a full-time artist, and her days of working in a supermarket are well behind her. So anyway, check out Tanya Boo. She's absolutely amazing. But many of the students that take this program tell us that it is absolutely life-changing, because mostly, I mean, it's great to be a professional artist, be able to get rid of your job. That would be life-changing. And, you know, to know that people are appreciating what it is you create enough so that they're giving you money for it. I mean, that's life-changing enough. But it changes you on the inside. It just has made so many people confident in themselves, because they know that they're finally able to live out their purpose as an artist. They're able to actually do what they've dreamt of doing. It's not just something on a shelf somewhere or something, you know, that they just wish would happen. It's actually happening. And the confidence that they gain in that, and just the you know, enthusiasm for life, and looking forward to waking up every morning and getting into the studio and doing what you love most, has absolutely changed their life. And we just hear it again and again. So this is Eleanor Birch. She's also a Canadian artist. And actually she's from the UK, but she lives in Canada right now. And you can see her before pictures and then after. And she just really, what she says is that she really gained clarity of purpose, and she really understood, you know, why she's put on this earth, and it made her feel like, you know, that her life counts, that she has significance, that her life is really worth something, because she's able, in a very quick amount of time, in less than a year, be able to transform her art from, you know, so-so art to really incredible art that many people love and appreciate and buy, is just, you know, everything. And so all these stories, and there's so many more, I could talk all day about these stories, but are just such an important part of this program, and the community and friends that you make in the process, because the whole this is another great story, but I feel like I've told enough stories. So, you know, we have a whole community aspect to this. So we have group coaching is included in the program. So what that means is you go on our app, where there's like a social media, you can post your artwork and get feedback. We also have live Zoom calls that you can attend where our coaches and our mentors are there giving you feedback on your artwork, so you know where you stand, you know where you can improve, you know where maybe your proportions are off, or how to tweak something, or how to integrate your background with your foreground. Of course, now you know how to do that because you learned, but you getting that feedback is absolutely crucial. It's the difference of learning very slowly versus learning very quickly. So the community aspect of our school is just huge. It's not an online program, it's really an online school. And you are a part of a cohort, you are a part of a community where you're all rowing in the same direction. You're all encouraging each other and working to live out your dream as a professional artist. So it's a fantastic community. Also, if you pay extra, so group coaching is included in the tuition, but if you want to pay a little bit extra, it's $200 a month. You can get a personal mentor. So that is your own personal mentor that you can contact through texting, every single day and get feedback in the moment while you're painting. So that is a really, truly fantastic feature that's kind of an upgrade. So how much does the mastery program cost? It is right here. We have 3 different options. The first option is a 2-year payment plan where it's only $200 a month. So for just $200 a month, you can join this program and absolutely change your life. So that comes to $4,800. The other option is a 1-year program or 1-year payment plan that's $350 a month, and then it's $4,200. Or if you want to pay in full, it's $3,600 and you save $1,200. So that is our most popular option because you save the most money, and so it's very, very feasible, and between $200 a month or $3,600 total, there's something for everyone. So it is, there's the personal mentoring that's that's $200. So and you get so who the mentors are professional working artists that actually Tanya that I showed you earlier, she is one of our mentors. And so you could request a specific mentor, or one is assigned to you, and you get daily feedback and messaging, and then you get a monthly Zoom call one-on-one with your mentor. So it's a really, really smoking deal for personal mentoring. I don't know any other program out there that has personal mentoring at that price. So, and it's really, really high quality with people who absolutely care. So yeah, like I was saying, there's just really no better time to be an artist than right now. There's just so many tools that we have available to us. There's so much opportunity. Every time I turn around, there's just more and more opportunity. I met with a couple yesterday who were from Sweden, and they were asking, like, do people even buy art? Is there? And I was like, I've been an artist for 30 years, so I have seen, and I've never stopped selling my art in 30 years. I've always sold my art over a 30-year period, and I have seen everything in the art world just get better and better and more and more. There are more buyers now, it's easier than ever, and there's more outlets and way more places you can do. There's so much more opportunity, and I could do an entire workshop and why it's better now than it was 30 years ago or 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. So it's absolutely incredible. Now is the time that you want to get running in this. And the greatest thing is anybody can do it as long as you're committed and devoted and you love it. If you love to paint, if you love to create, if you're passionate about it, that's all it takes. Anybody can learn. If I were to show you my very first paintings and my attempts, it looks a lot like the ones I showed you. They were not very good. In fact, they were worse than the ones that I showed you. I used to not know how to paint at all. Everything I know, I learned it. So I think no matter where you're at, whether you're a complete beginner or you are more advanced and you have some skill, anybody can do this. Anybody can be a professional artist if you commit yourself to it. So I'm sure there's questions by now. Do you have?
Yeah, someone was wondering, they want to do the mastery program, but they're worried because they have a full-time job.
Well, most of the people that take the mastery program have a full-time job. There's some people that have, 2 jobs, and one of them is full-time, and they're really trying to balance things. So I also know single moms who have a couple kids and full-time jobs that are able to accomplish it. So it's all about time management, and we give you lots of tools in the program for time management, and even in our orientation section to get you started, that orientation section that you take to get prepared for the program has a bunch of time management in it. So if you manage your time and you create a schedule for yourself and you commit certain hours per week to the program, you can do it. Some people do it in a year. That's the pace it's designed at. And some people, it takes them 18 months or even up to 2 years. So, everybody's different. And that's the beauty of online learning, is you can do it at your own pace and you can do it on your own schedule. So there isn't scheduled classes that you have to show up for. You get the content on the app and you go through it at your own pace. And then you share what you've done in the group coaching to get feedback.
Some people are wondering if you're going to be sharing your painting when it's finished in oils.
Yeah, so if you follow me on Instagram, I will share it on Instagram when it's finished. And yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And lastly, someone's wondering, do you need to be in the program to have a mentor?
Yeah, we only have mentoring for mastery students. So it's just the mastery program is so comprehensive, and it really teaches you everything you need to know. It's really hard to mentor somebody when they're just lacking skills, or they have holes in their education, and or they don't know their voice and they're kind of bouncing all over the place, and so and then in the end, after a few mentoring sessions, you just want to say, well, you need to take the mastery program so you don't have those issues. So we just have mentoring for mastery students.
All right, and I think to wrap this up, someone said, what time are the Zoom calls? I live in Europe.
Yeah, so we have Zoom calls because our coaches and our mentors are all over the world. So we have mentors that live in Australia, in India, in Europe. So with 118 countries representing our students, we have mentors all over the world. So every time zone there are Zoom calls. We don't have really an issue of people that aren't able to go to these Zoom calls because they hit every time zone. So that is not a problem. Okay, so this was really fun, and I appreciate you guys for being here, and hopefully, get that file that is in the chat for the workbook that goes with this and everything that we taught. And I just know after this workshop, you absolutely will not have problems with your backgrounds anymore, and all your subjects and your backgrounds are going to be really integrated, and you're going to create some really beautiful artwork. Now, did you put a link in the chat on how to enroll at the mastery program?
Yes.
Okay, so you can enroll in the mastery program now. It will begin at the beginning of the month, so that gives you time to kind of prepare, get your studio ready, get all your supplies gathered. You can immediately, as soon as you enroll, you can join the group coaching group. You can get all your questions asked in the group coaching. You can meet all the coaches. You can meet all the students and see what they're doing, and go through the orientation and the really fast, easy prep course. So if you are inspired and sparked by joining the mastery program, I would say do not hesitate and just sign up and enroll today, and you can, like I said, get going and get your space prepared for a start in just a few weeks. So thanks for being here, thanks for being a part of this, and we will see you in the next workshop.